A good Devora boysai. We are here in Yerushalayim in a restaurant, and it's unbelievable. Lili Nishmasim Mirasi was Mordechai. Maybe a month or so ago, I first went to Reshit. Maybe 50 guys signed up, and we have the Messiahim here. That day, I went to Leva Torah. Another 50 guys. What's amazing is, I'm going to go through the whole list here. We got Torah Shraga, we got Tomo, we got Mesifta. Eretz Atzvi. We even got a representative from Eshat Torah. What's amazing is, what's so special siyum just for yeshiva guys. And what's so special is that a yeshiva guy is busy learning Torah all day long. You have Iyun Zdarim, Bekiya Zdarim, and to make time, to put time on the side, another 40, 45 minutes a day, to learn an extra Seder, to me, that's outstanding, it's unbelievable, and it's just unbelievable. Geschmack. So you should all be very, very proud of yourselves. And here we are. We have to thank Avi Kamiansky for sponsoring tonight. It's a beautiful meal with wine, with unbelievable dessert, great food. So thank you very much, Avi, for always stepping in and being a very, very big part of MDY. As a matter of fact, Avi's two sons are here tonight who do the daf and also were Messiahim, Zevi and Shaya. And that's right, Mordechai. How can I forget Mordechai? Three sons. Mordechai is only 11 years old. He's in my son Yoel's class, who's also here, and they both do the daf every single day. So Yishkoyach. I'll start out with a cute email. Anytime I get an email from Yoli Doppelt, it's a great email. Here it is. Dear Reb Eli, learning the daf daily with MDY has changed my life in many ways. For one, I now wake up every day, besides for Shabbos, with the first thing I do after Moed Ani, even before getting out of bed, is putting Bluetooth headphones in my ears to start listening to the banter, which does not require Birkas HaTorah. I was recently at a breakfast parlor meeting where the speaker opened up with a simple good morning, Rabbi Yisai. I suddenly heard this loud that caused all 50 people to turn their heads towards the back to see what it was. It was me. It was not intended, but has become a complete muscle memory, I guess. Embarrassed, I found myself explaining my outrageous war cry to dozens of people, and I hope that at least a few of the curious will check out MDY as a result. Remember, it's not about the good morning, it's about the Yoel Alevi Doppel. Over here we have Rabbi Yisai, a picture of a guy on a train and a guy on a plane. My name is Chad Adler. I currently live and work in Washington, D.C. I'm relatively new to MDY. After completing my first Masechta, I'm hooked on Daf Yomi, and I've begun recommending the share to friends, colleagues, and anyone who will listen. This time 2 years ago, I cannot read a word of Hebrew, much more hold a service of any kind. As I began to become religious, I discovered that my mother, not completely converted. As a result, I'm currently undergoing and learning for Gerus. From the get-go, my goal has become to be a Ben Torah, and I want to take the plunge of Daf Yomi with the help of a new friend and mensch by the name of Nosson Stein. Here he is. He comes up again. I joined the shir shortly before the previous siyum. I confidently report that it truly is gishmak to do the daf, and shir's opened my eyes to the beauty of Gemara. Learning the daf has become a welcome addition into my gerus, learning repertoire, and has been among the highlights of my daily schedule. I hope you enjoy the attached photo of me completing Maseches Megillah on the Amtrak on the way to New York City for a Shabbaton. Here he is learning Maseches Megillah. Baruch Hashem, I was able to recruit a few friends. The next Masechta, I look forward to learning with you, helping grow the shir, Shkoyach, and Moshat Tzlacha, Chad R. Adler. Here he is. Then we have, on the plane, thanks for all the beautiful shi'irim. That's not what it says. I love what you do. Hashem should bless you. Here I saw. I guess somebody took this picture without them knowing. That's what it says here. I saw two Hasidim on a Wizz air flight from London to Ukraine, learning the daf with MDY. I thought you'll enjoy to see this. Regard, Simon. So here's Simon. Rabbi Isai, I know everybody's hungry. You had the first course, maybe, if you're lucky, and so we'll jump right into it. Today is Daf Gimel, and we're holding all the way on the bottom of Daf Beis, Amud Beis. I just realized it's a great trick. Tomer, I have to thank Tomer for organizing everything, but these poor guys, we're only here for one Masechta. They committed for Maseches Megillah, and here they are having to listen to a little bit of Moed Katan. Wow. Oh, the sponsors. Here we go. The sponsor for the Koil HaChodesh is Chayim. Eli Nishmas Yeshua Avrumi Lieberman הכהן ben Yonathan Chayim Zichron Levracha. Refuah Zididenu Reb Shalom Baruch Yehuda ben Malka Freda. That's Yitzi, Leibowitz. Maseches Moed Katan is dedicated by the Kessler and Davis families. Refuah shleima for Miriam Esther, Devora, bekorov. Yitzi, Radzik, and the Radzik family. Eli Nishmas Mordechai Chanoch ben yisrael Yitzchak Halevi on a second Yartzeit. Avrumi Lieberman, in honor of Shragi and Noam Goldberg. May they start the daf today. Of course, in honor of Pinny, Brescher, and David Bray too. By Nosson Stein, as a schos for shleima for Gittel Bas Malka. And here we go, Rabbi Isai. So we're in the middle of a sugya. We're talking about making a ditch on Shabbos. Thank you. It's the restaurant's fault. Oh, we have a picture somewhere. The question is, what is the problem doing so on Shemitah? Mashkin beis hashlachim b'moed u'bashvius, a whole sugya of, from our Mishnah, are you allowed to water your field on Shemitah? What's the problem to water a field on Shemitah? So Rav Amar, afilu temer rabbanon. So just to explain the Gemara's question, going back a few lines, when we're talking about Chalamayid, we're talking about Chalamayid and Shemitah. This year, Shemitah year. Chalamayid, we know there's a problem of exerting yourself, a tirchi yisera. Okay, but what's the problem on Shemitah? Says the Gemara, you know what, let's take it back so we have it all here. Mashkin beis hashlachim b'moed u'bashvius b'shlam b'moed shum tirchahu v'makom say the sharabanon, because of a tircha we allow it. Elo shvius shmita bein leman dom shum zireya bein leman dom shum chayresh. Should I do this? One of these? It's a dark restaurant and we need that extra lighting here. Maybe they have another part, another piece. Yeah. So it's not just me at home. All these new guys that come, it's like, first I have to go like this on the screen. How are you allowed to plant and plow on Shemitah? So we had one pshat, Abaye says, it's Bizman Hazeh, that Shemitah is only the Rabbanon. Rav Amar afilu temer Rabbanon, even if we hold that Shemitah Bizman Hazeh is a doiraisa, don't worry about these guys, don't pay attention to them. Afilu temer Rabbanon, oves asar rachmana, toldos lo asar rachmana. By the way, one of the hardest shiurim for me to give was yesterday. Every 30 seconds, my phone was going out, and I had to go like this. And then a guy knocks on the door. I'm not exaggerating. This is his head. Here it was, the entire shiur. And punching that phone, I'm like, dude, the YouTube, it's going to be shaky. Yeah, I got it. So then he was good. And then he forgot. And I was like, I couldn't concentrate. One of the hardest shiurim to give. Imagine giving a shiur with a guy right in your face. All right. Baruch Hashem, I have today Gary and Tomer right in my face, but not as close. Says the Gemara. So 2 lines from the bottom. Rav Amar afilu temer Rabbanon. We're talking about Shemitah, that's the Raisa. Oves asar rachmana, toldos loy asar rachmana. So we know from Hilchos, you got to tell these guys they have to be quiet the entire shiur. Hilchos Shabbos, we have Avos and Toldos. You have the main category of malachas, that's Asr, the 39, and below each one, you have different Toldos. So Gemara says, when it comes to watering a field, that's a tolda. Lo yazar achmana. D'chsev ubashana hashvius Shabbos Shabbosan yeh la'aretz sadcha lo sizra. Here we go. We have this guy right over here. Ubashana hashvius is talking about. Sorry, you guys in the back over there. I can't really. Whatever. You'll figure it out. Shana hashvius sadcha lo sizra v'charmecha lo sizma. We're going to be discussing this pasuk. It says what you can't do on Shemitah, Sadcha Le'Sizra, you can't plant, V'charmecha Le'Sizmar, and you can't prune your vineyard. So, I think the pasuk continues, Le'Siktzar, you can't reap the wheat, and Le'Siftzar, you can't cut the grapes off. So, Taldes Le'Yasar Achmana, the pasuk doesn't mention anything about watering, but watering is part of Zriya. It's getting the plant to work. Says the Gemara, so to understand this line over here, you see it right over here. You see the red? Sizra and Sizmar. They're the same thing basically. One is to put a seed in the ground. One is to prune a tree. Remember the picture of the guy pruning the tree? Have it here somewhere. Not important. But it's the same category. It's causing a plant to do better. And then you have tiktsar and tifsar, which are both the same thing. One is cutting down the wheat, reaping the wheat, and one is to harvest the grapes. But it's the same malach. So why does the Torah say it twice? It's these toldos. The Gemara calls them a tolda. Someone agrees that, but tizmar and tiftsar are toldas subcategory of tizra and tiktsar. And only these two, you're chayav, you're not chayav malchus, it's aser, but you're not chayav malchus if you water your field on Shemitah. I want to tell you something. We're about to learn 19 lines in the Gemara. These 19 lines are going to be repeated word for word on this Amud. We don't have to check. We're going to have a complete chazara. So if you don't get it now, you'll get it on the second time. If you get it now, you can just space out for 19 lines. It's really 13, but they're wider on the bottom, all the way to the bottom of the mouth. So here it goes. That's the pasuk we just saw. Got a picture for all these three things. So idur is in the middle. It's to take a hoe, like a shovel, soften up the ground. You have nikush and kisuach are basically almost identical. It means to get rid of the weeds. One, as you see in this picture over here, he's uprooting it with his hand. He pulls the complete weed with the root out. The other one is with a machine, with some sort of tool. But you're cutting it at the surface. You're not taking out the root. But it's the same idea. So, how do you know that those are aser? But we just said nothing is aser on Shemitah. You don't get malchus for anything. Only for the two things in the Torah. Cutting grapes and Tizmar. These two guys, Tizmar and Tiftzar. Now all of a sudden we're saying there's a whole list of things. We're going to go, there's more. These are the three, and there's more. Rashi explains that the wording here is a little strange. It should say loy sizra sadcha, not sadcha loy sizra. Therefore, we learn from here that anything that's in the field is aser. Watering, using a hoe, all these things. Next. Anything that has to do with the vineyard, anything that has to do with the sada. Now, so it says over here that you're not allowed to uproot the weeds, and that's part of zoireya, planting. Just a thought of musar maybe, ashkafa, and that is that when a person wants to add ruchnis to his life, there's two ways to do it. The zriya and nikush. Zriya would mean to plant something from the start, like taking on, let's say, Daf Yomi. taking it on for the very first time in your life. You're planting a seed, and that seed hopefully gets you somewhere. You finish Shas, etc. But there's also the concept of nikush. Nikush is to clean out the weeds. When you take a weed and you uproot it, everything next to it grows better. And that is also something that we could do. You want to increase ruchnis in your life, sometimes all you have to do is get rid of some of the bad things that you have in your life right now. You don't have to add anything. You just have to take off. Maybe a little less of a movie, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Zok the Gemara. It's difficult, trust me, it's difficult to stick in some hashkafa here in the middle of Shemitah stuff, but we'll try. Says the Gemara. Gershon, that's what it sounds like when you talk up there. Yeah. It's soft, but you can hear it. Now, next halacha. It's the same idea over. And by the way, we're going to do chazar on this. New things. This is talking about a tree. How do you know you don't trim a dry tree? You don't trim too many. When you have a lot of branches, you want to dwindle it out. You don't support a tree. I have a great picture for this, actually. How do you show a supporting of a tree? I don't know if you can see it. If you look closely, there's a hand made out of wood supporting the tree. Okay, cute picture. If you remember, mefazgin is to support. Also, also to do. Ve'ein. Did I skip? No. Same pasuk. New stuff. Menayin. Shem is zablin. You don't fertilize the roots. Ve'mefarkin. And you don't remove the stones from the roots. Ve'ma'apkim. And you don't put dust over the roots. You have exposed roots. You don't fill them with dust. Vein, ma'ashnin, v'ilon. Here, tree shouldn't smoke. It means, what? Yeah, it looks good. If you have worms in the tree, what you do is you put smoke on the bottom, you smoke it up, you get the worms out. The same drush as before. These are just like 9, 10 things that you can't do. But we're learning that there's other things you can't do in Shemitah. Maybe you shouldn't use a hoe and soften up the dirt. And maybe you shouldn't soften up the dirt under the grapes. And don't fill it up with water. Remember the picture of ugiyos. You should make a cookie, basically a circle underneath the grapevine. So here we have a few things that's mutter to do. And why? Because it says in the pasuk Sadchalei Sizra. That's the original pasuk that we had before. Right? Sadchalei Sizra. Question is, Zriya b'klal ha'isiv v'lo miyatsa. Zriya is one of the things that you do in the field. It already says, you got to take it easy on Shemitah. V'lo miyatsa. So why does the Torah specify Zriya? Just like planting is something that you do in both. So now we're coming up with a new chiddush. What kind of malacha is asur? Only malacha that's in both a vineyard and a field. So the bottom line is, we see that we have all these malachas. You're not allowed to smoke up a tree, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. So why tell me it's only 2 things you're not allowed to do? Says the Gemara, midrabanan ukra asmachta ba'alma. It's only midrabanan. You're right. All these things that say that it's asur, only midrabanan. The ones that are asur midoraisa, only tizmar, that's pruning a tree, and tiftzar, removing grapes from the vineyard. Ask the Gemara. We got a reshit cup here, Rabbi Isai. Woo! Shkayach. Says the Gemara, the kishkush b'shvius mishari. What? You're allowed to take a shovel, a hoe, and soften up the dirt. V'ksiv v'ashvius tishmetena unetashta tishmetena milakashkish. You're not allowed to use a hoe. Unetashta milasakel. You're not allowed to move away the stones. You see, it's also. There's 2 types of softening up the dirt. This one is asur. All you're doing is you're making it healthy, you're strengthening it, that's also. And one is to close up the wounds of the tree of the brood. That's mutter. Avrumi Lieberman shari, because otherwise, if you don't do it on Shemitah, your tree is going to die, so we allow you to take care of your tree. Itmar. Hacharish b'shviyas, the person plows his field on Shemitah. Do you get malchus for plowing a field on Shemitah? It's asur. There's no question that it's asur. Where's the pasuk? Here. B'charish u'v'kotzer tishbois. B'charish, you cannot do charisha, you can't plow a field on Shemitah. Is there another chair here, maybe? Extra chair? No? Okay. If there's one, I'll take one right over here. Shkoya. Says the Gemara. Maybe it's machlokes and rebavin. You got it? It's extra? Thank you. Okay, listen to this. This is beautiful. I know, guys, this is what I was saying to all the yeshiva guys, that when you learn Daf Yomi, you come across these very important concepts in Shas, like klal u'prat u'klal that we're just about to learn. A lot of times people go to sleep when they hear the word klal, it's too much for them. I'm telling you, it's simple, and you learn it again, then it becomes part of you. Very, very simple. This is a klal u'prat u'klal. Green, red, green. Klal is how does the article call it? Generalization, specification, generalization. That's how it's called. Fine. The generalization is Shabbos Shabbosan Yeh La'aretz. You don't keep the land Shabbos. Take a break. Now that happens to be an asay. It's a positive commandment, an asay. And that's important for later. But it's a general thing. It doesn't tell you what not to do. There's 10 things that you shouldn't do. Maybe you shouldn't water, you shouldn't plow, you shouldn't hoe, you shouldn't remove stones, plant seeds. Doesn't say. It just says you got to give it a full year of a break. Then the Torah says, Satchal Isizra. Two things. I only put one in here. Don't plant a seed. What is that? Specification. It's very, very specific. Don't plant a seed. And then the Torah says it again. Shna Shabbos and Yeh La'aretz. Again, Shabbos, a full year. So anytime you have a klal, a prat, and a klal, the law is that the middle guy was only a mashal. It's an example. The Torah gave you one example. You figure out everything else. Don't put a seed in the ground, but also don't water, don't this, don't that. Here it is, in case you want to know. If you say korbanos, all of it in the morning, you probably said the shleishes serimidas shatar nidreshes bem. This is one of the 13 rules that the Gemara uses, and the rule is klalu pratu klal iatadon elo keina prat. The prat is an example, and you expand that example. But what if you only have two things, a klal and then a prat? The rule is very different. Then the Torah went from saying a general rule to being very specific. Logically speaking, that tells me that you have to be specific. The Torah is only talking about one rule. So let's say it's a klal prat, pretend the last green doesn't exist. It's a klal prat. Then the halacha is iatadon elokeina prat. It's exactly like the example. That's it. You don't expand on it. Oh, so what does that have to do with us? So here's another step. Here's the second rule if you want to see it. Klal prat, ein b'klal elo masher b'prat. It has to be exact like the prat. But here's what's happening now, Sugya. Check this out. You hear? You have a green. The green is an asay. The Torah doesn't say don't plow. The Torah says take it easy. It's a positive commandment. Then the Torah says, no, don't plant. What is that called? A lois asay. So you have an asay and a lois asay, and then an asay again. Asay, lois asay, asay. Check mark, X, check mark. Then that's where Rabbi Oven comes and says, then it's as if it's only a klal and a prat, and I ignore the bottom klal. That's what he says. And perhaps that's a machlokes here. Now what? Let's see it inside. Anytime you have an assay by the generalization, like over here, there's a check mark by the green, and the prat belois assay, and don't plant, the Torah says, an X by the specification, then I ignore the fact that it's a klal, prat to klal. Then it remains only a klal and a prat. The one who says they get malchus on plowing, is plowing part of the generalization? It's certainly not part of the specification. It says you shouldn't plant. It doesn't say you shouldn't plow. So if you say that you get malchus, less like the Rebavin, he holds that it's a pure klal, prat klal, and therefore this middle guy is just an example, but it includes all the jobs that have to do with the field. And if you hold you don't get malchus for plowing, it's because you hold like Rebavin, and it becomes a klal uprat. It's not that difficult, guys. I'm telling you, it's easy. Klal uprat, and that's it. That's the end of the sugya. You don't get malchus. Why? Because it's very specific. What do you get malchus on? Two things: zriya and betzira. That's it. Or I should say, ktsira, to cut the wheat. Those are the two things. Says the Gemara Loy. No, that's not the machlokes. The kula alma less like the Reb Oven. Nobody holds the Reb Oven. It's a real klal prat klal. The less like the Reb Oven, no Reb Eli. Man dom aloika shapir. The guy, Rabbi Yochanan. We don't know who says what, but whoever it is that says malchus, it makes a lot of sense because the Torah says everything that you do on Shemitah you get malchus. And now Rabbi Isai, we're repeating word for word all the way to the last word on the Amud, and it's a freebie. So here goes. We'll speed it up a little bit because we just learned it word for word. I have Nakudas, so I know how to go quick. You put your finger in there and let's go. Why does the Torah have to repeat Zmira and Bitzira when it's already in the Pasuk? Why did the Torah repeat it? The Hani told us to the Mechayev, I'll tell to tell us that the only time you're Chayev is these two told us, but nothing else in the Torah. How do you know the Chayev for hoeing and taking out of the root, with the root, without the root? Anything that has to do with the field and your vineyard, aser. How do you know you can uphold the tree? You shouldn't chop off the branches. Anything that has to do with the field, with the tree, aser. How do you know a tree shouldn't smoke? You shouldn't fertilize the tree. Anything that has to do with the field, not let it do. Maybe you shouldn't soften up the dirt underneath the olive tree and underneath the grapes. You shouldn't fill it up with water. Shouldn't make a circle around the vineyard. Why did the Torah specify planting? It has to be something specifically that's done both in a vineyard and on the field. Comes out the chayra, by the way, that they used to make circles around the wheat and stuff like that, because that's what it says here. It has to be a certain type of avodah that's done both in the vineyard and both in the field. So we just said that you're not chayiv on anything, only those two in the pasuk. Midrabanan, ukra, asmachta ba'alma. It's only midrabanan. What? The official way I have that. Ukra, asmachta ba'alma. Now we're turning to Daf Gimel Amud Beis, sponsored by Moshe Horn and Woody Wyman as a schos for Mordy Moskovitz and in honor of Reb Eli for all that he does. Says Gemara. Ki Yasser Avdimi Omar. Yochel Yilke ala Tisefes. So Rav Dimi comes from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and he says, I heard something in Bavel, I have no idea what it means. Could anybody help me out? What did he hear? He said, I heard maybe you should get Malkus on the extra. And they proved me that you don't have to get Malkus on the extra. What does that mean? What's the extra? What is he talking about? So we have two pshatim that it could be. Rebbe Lazar Omar, I don't know what it means. Umaytu Sefes, I don't know what that means either. I don't know what the extra is. What is the extra and what don't you get Malkus on? Rebbe Lazar Omar Charisha. They were talking about in Bavel, they were talking about plowing the field. Right? We just had it a second ago. Where is it? From this limud of klal u'pratu klal, I learned that even plowing a field is asar and shmita. So you would think that you get malchus on it. No, and I'm going to learn from the Gemara that you don't get malchus. It's asar, but you don't get malchus. Then why does the Torah specify all these different things? No, only those things you get malchus. The rest you don't get malchus for. You know, we're going to talk about a little bit Shabbos. This is the concept of adding minutes to Shabbos, right? Adding minutes to Yom Kippur. You shouldn't go like all the way to Shkia. A certain amount of time that you have to add before Shabbos. Same thing applies to Shemitah. You don't go to the last day before Shemitah. You shouldn't plow your field 30 days before Shemitah. That. Now, what happens if a person does plow his field during Shemitah? That's what they learned in Bavel. You don't get malchus for that. Maybe you should get malchus for plowing 30 days before. I learned from a pasuk. And the Gemara is going to say tomorrow, Daf Daled, why you don't get malchus for that? Says the Gemara, what does it mean these days before Rosh Hashanah? It's not like we learned, when do I have to stop plowing my field before Shemitah? When it's still good for the fruit that's in the field, then I could plow the field. That's still part of the 6th year. But when it's no good, when the field is all dry, and I go ahead and I plow it, why in the world am I plowing the field now? For next year. So even though it's the 6th year, it's not Shemitah yet, but since my intent is for next year, it's completely asur. When does that come out? We'll see. Until Shavuos, says the Gemara, you should know. They're almost the same exact day. Shavuos and what Beis Shammai say are almost the same exact day. Now, Taisus says real quickly here, Adat Seres, it means that Beis Shammai are a little bit more machmir than Bisila. Why? Because there's a whole Mishnah Nadis that says where Beis Shammai are Mekel, so it must be that over here, they're the ones that say that it's a few days before Shavuos. Okay, according to Beis Shammai. Says the Gemara, until when can you plow a wheat field on the 6th year? When there's no more moisture. As long as people are plowing the field for their pumpkins, for their melons, whatever it is. That doesn't make a lot of sense. I need a date. It can't be, oh, this farmer plants his pumpkins now, and he plants that. Can't go by that. It says Gemara was there 11 out of Pesach, was there Elon Adat Seres. Pesach and Shavuos, 2 dates. If it's a wheat field, it's till Pesach, and if it's a tree place, it's till Shavuos. V'omar b'shimim b'paz yom b'shua ben Levi b'shum b'bakar para. Reb Gamliel beis dino nimnu al shtei prokim alalu u'bitlum. Reb Gamliel said there is no Pesach, there is no Shavuos. The date is Rosh Hashanah. Forget about all these dates. Omer Reb Zera Reb Avo. V'amel Reb Shlakish Reb Yechon. Reb Gamliel beis dino hechem matzim avatli takanta the Beis Shammai Silo. Beis Shammai Silo were way before. They made a takana and they said what? you can't plant from Shavuos on, you can't plant from Pesach on. Where does he have the right to take away a takana that Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel said? How do they have the right? Votnan ein bezdin yochel levatel divrei bezdin chaveiroi elam kein gadol memeno b'chachmo b'minyan. We just had it. Was it in this past Masechta? Anybody remember? Yeah, okay. You see, you learn a Masechta, you get to know another Yisayid for the rest of Shas. You cannot undo a takana unless you are greater than the person that made the takana. You have to have more people. So Hadar and Gamliel, he wasn't greater than Beis Hillel, Shammai. Says the Gemara, he was shocked by the question. His mouth was open. I don't know. Oh, I thought of a pshat, he says. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, when they made the takana, they stipulated in future generations, if they see it's not the right thing for Klal Yisrael to be makbid from Pesach and Shavuos, go back to the original, which is Rosh Hashanah. Says the Gemara, Didui, what? They made up this halacha. Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel made up the extra days. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Moshe Rabbeinu received it by Matan Torah, not as a written rule, but as a halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Because Baruch told him about Peh. Omer Rabasi, Omer Rabbi Yochanan, Mishum Rabbi Nechunya, Ish Bikas, Beis Charson, Eser Netiyos, Arava, Venisu Chamayim, halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Does anybody remember where we learned that one? Tainus. Let's see if I have it here. Uh-oh. I know, I printed it. Where is it? Oh, maybe it's here. Here we go. No. Okay. Maybe out of order. Here. Eser Netiyos is if you have, this is not to scale. If you have small trees, 10 saplings, you're allowed to plow. You don't have the 30-day. Right, we said that 30 days before Rosh Hashanah you have to stop plowing. But if they're babies, like these trees over here, or actually smaller, but within, you have a 50 by 50, you're permitted to plow. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai, we don't want you to destroy your trees. They'll die if you don't plow it. Another halacha l'Moshe Sinai is that Arava, on Sukkos, the reason why today we go around the Bima, we had this in Masechta Sukkah, whoever learned Sukkah knows, they'll take the Arava and a giant one, place it on the Mizbeach. How do you know all these things? Halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Says the Gemara. Arava, v'nisach hamayim, halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Or Yisrael ki gemiri yachas shleishim yoyel lefnei Rosh Hashanah. Oh, so at the end of the day, it's not Beis Shammai. It's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Omer Yisrael ki gemiri yachas shleishim yoyel lefnei Rosh Hashanah. So you see, what halacha l'Moshe Sinai is about as an atiyos, where you could plow before Shemitah, you can't. So why are you telling me that it's Beis Shammai? Says the Gemara, Omer Yisrael ki gemiri yachas shleishim yoyel lefnei Rosh Hashanah. What we learned, halacha l'Moshe Sinai, is 30 days. Vasuhani, Beis Shammai still came, Takum and Pesach Matzeres. And they came and they added to the 30 days and they said you have to stop Pesach and Shavuos. And they made a Tanaya stipulation. If you feel like one day canceling out, it's fine. Ask the Gemara, at the end of the day, it's not halacha l'Moshe Sinai. It's right in the Torah. It's not Baal Peh, it's in the Torah. It's non bechorish v'katzer tishbais. So here's the pasuk. The pasuk is problematic. Why? Because it says sheishes yomim tavoid uvayom hashvi tishbais. What is it talking about? Is it talking about Shemitah? It doesn't make sense. It's talking about Shemitah. It says uvayom hashvi on the 7th day, not the 7th year. So says Rebbe Kiva, okay, it's talking about Shabbos. So what about the next part of the pasuk? Talking about Shabbos. In the middle of a pasuk, we're going to do a switcheroo. B'chorish uv'katzer tishbais. Shouldn't plow, you shouldn't reap on Shabbos. This 39 malachas you can't do on Shabbos. Says Reb Akiva, tremendous chiddush, that this pasuk in fact is two separate things. You're right. The first part is talking about Shabbos. The second part is talking about Shemitah. Reb Akiva Omer, 3 lines from the bottom. I already know from the other pasuk that we're talking about the entire night that you're not allowed to do charisha. So it's not halacha Moshe Sinai. It's a pasuk. Here's the pasuk. I learned from the second part of the pasuk that you cannot plant before Shemitah. You have to give a little bit extra. Tosef as Shemitah. Top of the Daled Amud Aleph. Let's say something grew by itself, or somebody was a rasha planted on Shemitah and it grew after Shemitah. You have to be careful with it. This hilchas biur, you know all these halachas that we have today. I don't know if you're familiar with them, but anyway, if let's say you get a vegetable from somebody that doesn't have a good hechsher, it's very possible it grew in Eretz Yisrael. You can't throw it in the garbage can. You have to let it rot. Biur. Let's just do a few lines here so tomorrow we have it easier. Nowhere in the Torah does it say you have to plow a field. There's no such mitzvah. There is a mitzvah though to reap for Omer, and the only way to do it is to plow. Okay. So mechar rishos avkatz rishos. Yotza katzir Omer shi mitzvah. When you have the mitzvah to reap it for the Omer, right? The second day of Pesach, we bring a minchas Omer. We have to take some barley, put it on the mizbeach, and that allows us to eat the new crop, the chadash. So bottom line is, according to Rebbe Akiva, 30 days before Rosh Hashanah is the Iraisa. But the problem is, comes out that there's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. What does halacha l'Moshe Sinai come to tell us? It tells us they have to add to that. But the Iraisa is 30 days. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai adds Pesach and Shavuos. Says the Gemara, just a few more lines and we're done. Then we could eat. I hear the guys all getting excited. No. The halacha Moshe Sinai and the pasuk is both. They're both talking about the 30 days. It's to allow a young sapling. The halacha Moshe Sinai is not coming to say something zaser. It's coming to say something's mutter. The 30 days closest to Shemitah, you're allowed to plow the field, like I showed you in the picture, the saplings, these trees, if they're planted in a certain way, in a 50 by 50 area, 10 saplings, that's mutter. And the pasuk comes to say that it's also to plow when it's an older tree. Ask the Gemara, isn't it obvious if the halacha Moshe Sinai says that you could plow a young tree, that means that an old tree you can? Elo hilchasa, says the Gemara, we're just finishing here. Hilchasa l'Rebbe Shmuel, Kroi l'Rebbe Akiva. You're right. You're asking me, why do you need halacha Moshe Sinai? Why do you need a pasuk? No. The pasuk goes according to Rebbe Akiva. Rebbe Akiva doesn't believe there's halacha Moshe Sinai. He says there's a pasuk. Rebbe Shmuel says there's no pasuk. There's only halacha Moshe Sinai. Not a question. Have a wonderful evening. Have a wonderful week. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:15.